If you have a smart president, you will never lose the standard. If you have a stupid president, like the last one, you would lose the standard. And if we lost the world standard dollar, that would be like losing a war, a major world war. We would not be the same country any longer.
Trump's warning has come true, but during his own second term, not under some so-called foolish predecessor. The US dollar is now facing its worst year since 1973, and something unprecedented is happening with Treasury bonds. Over the past 5 years, China has dumped more than $300 billion worth of U.S. Treasury bonds, a strategic move on a scale the world has never seen from a major trading partner. In many ways, it's the opening shot in an economic war that will reshape the global order. At the same time, high in Tibet, China has begun construction on the Yarlung-Tsangpo mega dam. Once complete, it will be the largest power plant in human history, generating around 300 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity every year. To put that in perspective, the entire United Kingdom, the world's sixth largest economy, consumed just 259 billion kilowatt-hours in all of 2023. A single Chinese power plant could supply enough energy to run an entire G7 industrial nation. By contrast, America's energy output has been nearly flat since 2005. Almost 2 decades of stagnation. That contrast forms the backbone of Beijing's bold plan to replace the petrodollar system that has dominated world trade for half a century with a new order backed not by oil, but by electricity. If China succeeds, it could permanently alter the future of the US dollar and America's role in the world. To understand this moment, you have to go back in history. America's rise as a financial superpower didn't happen by chance. It started with a deal in Saudi Arabia decades ago. Washington guaranteed the kingdom's security, and in return, the Saudis agreed to sell their oil exclusively in US dollars. That simple agreement gave birth to the petrodollar system and handed America what came to be called the exorbitant privilege. The mechanism was straightforward. It created a permanent artificial demand for dollars. Every country, friend or foe, needed energy to survive, and energy meant oil. To buy oil, they first had to buy dollars. This gave the US the ability to print money almost without limit, financing massive budget deficits and military spending without the kind of hyperinflation that would wreck another nation. The world simply absorbed the surplus dollars. Dollar dominance allowed America to live far beyond its means, a privilege no other nation on earth has enjoyed. But that system was built on a foundation now beginning to crack: dependence on fossil fuels. The world is shifting. The global economy is moving from oil to renewables. Electricity is becoming the universal energy form of the modern age, powering everything from electric cars to massive AI data centers. As dependence on oil fades, the very base of the petrodollar system begins to erode. And here, China has stepped in as the disruptive force. It is no longer just the world's factory floor, it is becoming the world's power plant. Beijing poured resources into renewable energy years ago, while Washington clung to outdated fuel sources. Today, China leads the world in solar, wind, and hydro production, and it's pushing the frontier in next-generation energy technologies. According to Nordic Times and China Environment News, China has officially licensed the operation of the world's first thorium molten salt reactor, MSR, a major milestone in the pursuit of advanced, cleaner energy solutions. Located in the desert city of Wuwei, Gansu Province, it is the first fully operational thorium reactor on the planet. Unlike conventional uranium reactors, thorium MSRs offer several advantages: improved safety features, reduced radioactive waste, and the ability to operate at atmospheric pressure, which lowers the risk of catastrophic explosions. Even more striking, Chinese scientists have achieved another breakthrough, successfully refueling the thorium reactor without shutting it down, something once thought impossible. This ability greatly improves efficiency, minimizes downtime, and firmly positions China as the undisputed pioneer in this field. And Beijing is not stopping at innovation. They are also building projects on a scale that borders on the unimaginable. The Guardian reports that China has begun construction of the world's largest dam on the Yarlung-Tsangpo River in Tibet, a hydroelectric mega-project capable of generating 3 times the output of the Three Gorges Dam, currently the largest power plant in existence. This dam is a centerpiece of China's strategic plan to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. Yet the project has raised alarms in India and Bangladesh, both downstream nations concerned about potential disruptions to their water supply. Built in a high-altitude gorge, it is a feat of engineering designed to tap the river's enormous hydroelectric potential. This growing dominance in energy doesn't just power China's grid, it gives Beijing strategic leverage to rewrite the rules of the global financial system. China's plan is to create an Electro-Yuan system to run parallel with the petrodollar. Instead of oil, the underlying asset will be electricity. Beijing intends to expand cross-border energy projects, ultra-high voltage transmission lines, and regional power grids. Then it will require countries purchasing its electricity to pay in renminbi, RMB. This mechanism creates a self-reinforcing loop for China's currency. Nations dependent on Chinese power supplies would be forced to buy and hold RMB in their foreign exchange reserves. That in turn drives up global demand for the yuan, gradually internationalizing it and lifting its status as a global reserve currency. This plan is no longer just theory, it is already being implemented across the world. Invez highlights one example. Laos recently signed a $1.45 billion clean energy deal with China's Southern Power Grid, a state-owned company, to strengthen its energy infrastructure and push sustainable development. The agreement, signed in Vientiane, focuses on hydropower and solar projects, as well as upgrades to the country's transmission network. The project is designed not only to meet Laos's rising domestic demand, but also to position the country as the battery of Southeast Asia, exporting electricity to its neighbors. More importantly, the deal underscores China's expanding role in financing and building critical infrastructure across the region, often structured through payment arrangements in local currencies or directly in renminbi, bypassing the US dollar altogether. In the past, Laos would have had to convert its currency into US dollars and then into renminbi to settle payments, allowing the dollar to take a cut at every step. Today, with direct RMB settlement, the Laos Central Bank can transfer money straight to China, keeping far more value at home. Another, even larger example is unfolding in Brazil. According to Xinhua and Yahoo Finance, China's State Grid Corporation has begun construction on a massive ultra-high voltage direct current (UHVDC) transmission project in Brazil. This is the second transmission line serving the Belo Monte hydroelectric plant, designed to carry clean power from northern Brazil to the country's main demand centers in the southeast, including major cities like Rio de Janeiro. The line will stretch more than 2,500 kilometers, about 1,550 miles, making it one of the longest in the world. UHVDC technology, pioneered by China, enables electricity to be transmitted efficiently across vast distances with minimal losses. The project not only demonstrates China's technical capability to deliver large-scale global energy infrastructure, but also deepens its economic ties with South American nations. By exporting not just energy infrastructure, but also a financial system that bypasses the US dollar, China is showing how overseas projects can drive both economic development and the internationalization of the RMB. According to the Wall Street Journal, on the edge of the Gobi Desert, China is building solar and wind projects on a scale the world has never seen. These facilities, sprawling across hundreds of square miles, are part of Beijing's push to become a clean energy superpower and reduce its reliance on imported fuel. The plan is to transmit the massive amounts of electricity generated here over thousands of miles to China's densely populated eastern cities using ultra-high voltage transmission technology. It is an engineering feat designed to overcome one of the biggest challenges of renewable energy: intermittency, and the sheer distance between where power is produced and where it is consumed. The project underscores China's commitment to reshaping its entire energy economy. At the center of this de-dollarization movement is BRICS, now expanded to 20 member nations representing half the world's population and accounting for 40% of global GDP. Founding members like China and India, along with key partners such as Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam, are driving more than half of the world's economic growth. It is increasingly clear that the future is being written by the nations aligned with BRICS, not by a fading G7. While China is busy building the future, the United States remains trapped in the past. The country now faces two parallel crises: a decaying energy infrastructure and a political economic system incapable of long-term planning. America's power grid is simply not equipped to handle the challenges of the 21st century. Demand for electricity is surging, driven by the boom in artificial intelligence, AI, and electric vehicles. Yet U.S. power generation has barely grown since 2005. How can America hope to compete in the AI race if its grid can't even power the models? The problem runs deep within the core of the U.S. economic system. Large-scale infrastructure projects depend on private investment, which demands returns within 3 to 5 years, an absurd timeline for power projects that take decades to build and pay off. By contrast, in China, the state directs capital into strategic sectors well before actual demand arises, willing to take risks to ensure capacity is always available. This decline isn't limited to the power grid. No matter how loudly Trump threatens BRICS, the world is no longer afraid of Washington. When he tried to intimidate China and India with 100% tariffs if they continued buying Russian oil, both nations flatly refused and kept pursuing their national interests. The irony is that Trump himself is accelerating de-dollarization. This turmoil is eroding confidence in the entire American economic system. Something rare is happening on Wall Street. Stocks, bonds, and the dollar are all falling at the same time. That means investors no longer see any corner of U.S. markets as a safe bet. Capital is starting to flow out of America. A Bank of America survey shows that only 23% of fund managers now favor U.S. equities. Meanwhile, the world is searching for alternatives. Central banks are buying gold at a frantic pace, driving its price up nearly 62% since the start of 2024. Nations are increasingly trading in their own currencies, bypassing the U.S.-dominated SWIFT system. The dollar's central role has always rested on trust. Trust in American institutions, trust in long-term stability, trust in competent leadership. But that trust is now unraveling at a speed no one predicted. If this trajectory continues, we may be living through the end of the American economic order as we've known it. And what comes next will not be shaped in Washington, but in a multipolar world already preparing for life after the U.S. dollar.